So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to grow your wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. We're also streaming on expertcresecrets.com. From time to time, we bring on real estate professionals to speak about their business and how they help their clients create and preserve more wealth. I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of the great state of Florida. He's in the Jacksonville area. He spent 10 years in the Navy, and he's on a mission to help folks, especially in the military, house hack, right? And house hack is something we're going to talk about here in a minute, but really get their financial stability going as they're starting out in their careers, in their lives, and even their second careers as they're moving away from the military. So please welcome to the show with me, Nate Riggs. Nate, how you doing?
Hey, Brett. Thanks for having me. Doing good. It's nice and warm down here. The watch says it's 82. It might be warmer. I don't know.
That's cool. And I see that surfboard in the back. I mean, you surfing pretty good in Jacksonville, or where are you doing there?
You know, I used to do a lot of surfing, but lately I'm just like growing a family, growing kids. And so not as much time out there as I'd like to. Play a little guitar also as a hobby. Just kind of that lifestyle here in Florida. This is Jacksonville, Florida. It's probably as far north as I'll ever live. I just can't do it. Can't go any further.
I'm with you. No, I hear you. So I'm in Northern California, and so it's probably about as far north as I'll ever go too. So let's dive right in, Nate. For those who are just getting to know you for the first time, would you give us a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Yeah, and in short, I actually grew up on the river in Sebastian, Florida, and rode around in my grandma's old Lincoln. My grandpa had a Sportsman's Marine on Lodge. We also had some commercial stuff like, coin laundry, changing soda machines. She had done some development, so I always was into real estate. What happened was I got my license at a young age, at like 20 years old, started doing real estate. And then, of course, the Great Recession happened there, 2007, 2008 timeframe. Really sets back a 20-year-old that's trying to like take off in the world during that. So it was tough. So I had to do something to kind of fill my resume to grow up a little bit. And that's what led me to the Navy. Joined the Navy as a helicopter search and rescue swimmer. And I spent 10 years doing that. So towards the end, I knew it was about time to get out and get back to real estate. So the last 18 months of my Navy career, turned my license back on. Stepped away from the Navy last January. So last year, 2020 was my full-time year. Of course, that was a interesting year to say the least, but I never quit working. I went to work every day. Was lucky and fortunate enough to do that, have continued to work, and we've done pretty well just kind of in the real estate world.
Beautiful. Love that. And, I believe we've all been given certain gifts, Nate, in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing, help to others. So maybe go back to your high school days, maybe the early military days, and maybe identify maybe one or two gifts that you believe you were given. And what are those gifts, and how does that help how you help and bless people today?
Wow. Okay. Gifts I have. I guess one of the things that I have, and I've noticed this over time, whether it was getting job promotions, even as a young age, at like the younger jobs, or I kind of stepped away from a job, and if I ever wanted it back, I always got it. And then as I was in the Navy, in the rescue swimmer, we call it a shop, but it's kind of a small community in the bigger realm of things. And I realized I had the ability to change the energy in the room. So if I came into a room, the energy changed. At some point, I didn't really notice that, or I didn't focus it. And sometimes they called them Riggs rants. I could just fire off these rants and basically get into topics and fire everybody up, right? And then once they got labeled, I realized that rants are inherently negative. So I tried to kind of harness that and say, okay, if I can control the energy in the room when Nate Riggs comes in the room, I want to make sure I'm making a positive difference and I'm moving this room forward, bringing uplifting statements to people. So that's probably the biggest gift, the gift of energy, if I had one.
That's a beautiful gift, and you think you said that so well. I could feel the energy from here in California on the other side of this microphone when you're in Florida, brother, man. So the Riggs rants. You know the other thing I think about too. I think about you've seen the movie or the show. Actually, the show is better than the movie. Friday Night Lights, right? And there's this guy named Riggs, right? And I think they got the brothers. They start like Riggs, car thing, truck shop or whatever it is, right? But they and I don't even know if that's even pronouncing right, but I just think about that. I think about that show and that particular actor. He could come in and change the energy of the room, man. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Have you seen that show, by the way, Friday Night Lights?
I've seen it, but not enough to be able to kind of. I might go have to back. Might have to review.
You do. It's really good, and it's about football. It's about life. It's about family and community. It's honestly top 3 show all the time I've ever seen. It's Friday Night Lights. Not to be confused with the movie. The movie's okay. The movie's kind of but the show is legit. Okay, all right. So let's dive right into to real estate. So what's the biggest kept secret to house hacking, especially as it pertains to folks that are either coming out of the military and or folks that are just kind of getting started?
Yeah, so I guess I would say don't go after your dream home for your first home. Right. So when you're shopping, maybe you're shopping for your first home or you just moved to a new area and you want to build that portfolio slowly over time. We're talking like over 10, 15 years as you work your job, you're taking your extra income and you're pouring it into these homes. I would shop with the idea of rental in mind. I'm a fan of buy and hold real estate. And so when you buy your house, maybe you're buying your first house, is this house going to be rentable in the future? What's the rest of the neighborhood like? And not just that, once you're in that house, what updates do you need to do to make it more rentable? Or if you were to sell it, how to make a profit? I've worked for people in the past. They've come in and they've made these beautiful kitchens or these beautiful outdoor like paver patios. The problem is nobody else in the neighborhood have that. So when they move out and they try to sell, it's hard to make appraisals, right? So appraisals are just as important as taste. Somebody may come in and say, hey, I'm willing to borrow this much money from the bank, but the bank may turn around and with its appraisal, smack that down and say, well, but we're not going to give you that much because everybody else in the neighborhood is lacking. So you don't want to be the best house in the neighborhood, so you kind of want to shop for that average or lower end house in the neighborhood, get into that house if you're going to live in it for a little bit. And then look at things like, okay, if you buy a house that has carpet, hard floors are popular, what's the price point? Can you go in and put LVP, so luxury vinyl plank, versus putting real tile in? What's the price point? What's going to have the best ROI, right? Or the return on your investment? So I would start there, start the conversation there with somebody.
Excellent. I think I caught that. Make sure I got it correctly here. So don't go after your dream home for your first home. What I'm hearing there is delayed gratification, right? Instead of just maximizing the sales the purchase price and taking on this debt and not having maybe a lot of room to A, do improvements or B, look at the exit plan for the future of the rentability of it, right? Look at it more of an investment rather than your forever home. Is that a fair summary?
Right. That's absolutely right. And if you're starting a young career, you're starting a young military career or even a career out of college and you're making enough income and you've got the money to put down, or you're able to take advantage of program. I mean, there's ways you can put 3.5% down or 10% down. It doesn't always have to be 20% down. And so you're able to kind of take advantage of that. If maybe you have a career that moves you, you could buy a house in different cities as you go. So instead of, hey, I've got to buy a house that maximizes my budget. And if I leave, if in order for me to even rent an apartment for 6 months at my next location, I have to sell this place because there's no way I can carry it. start looking at a house that like, hey, if my job takes me out of this city, or especially now where so many of us are able to work from home, and the commercial world has changed so much, and that's why we see so much growth in Florida, because it's a beautiful place. There's other beautiful places in the country that see influxes of people, but when you're able to work from home, you can live anywhere. So maybe you're able to move. You can purchase a house, get a house that you can carry for 6 months, till you can get somebody in it.
Very well said. Yeah, I'm thinking about having no margin, right? If you have no margin, there's not a lot of room for error. So if you
Right.
get, redeployed to a different location, or you get another career or a different job and you're moving, and if you're already maxed out on the income, you're going to have to sell in order to afford the next living expense. Instead, why not delay gratification, look at it as an investment, take it smaller, buy it, make sure it's a good rental, and there's margin there in your income and the cash flow, so that when you move, literally it's just an investment, right? It's not a heartache. Is that a fair summary, Nate?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So that makes sense. Now, the second part of house hacking, perhaps is, buying a duplex, buying a fourplex. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So at least here in Florida, like our rules are what we have, and this, different states have different things. But in Florida, a quad, so up to a fourplex, so a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, those all qualify as residential. So you're able to take residential mortgages, residential loans out for those. A little simpler, a little less complicated than the commercial stuff. And you can buy that. Now, you can move, say you buy a fourplex, you can move into one of those units. And if you do that, then you're able to take advantage of those other things. Like, not, if you buy an investment property, you're going to get hit with at least 10% down if you have a good mortgage broker, but it may be the full 20% down. If you move in with, to a home yourself and you're going to make it your primary, you may qualify for 3.5% down. Or if you're military and you get programs like VA, you can do 0% down, or even USDA. We have areas here where Jacksonville is exploding. And as it grows, they're building new developments where there used to be cow farms. However, the rules haven't changed yet. So these areas on the map still qualify for USDA, and you can get super low interest rates, and you can put 0 down for that if you qualify, if your credit is in line and all that, of course. But if you're able to move into a place and make it your primary home, but it's a fourplex, you're renting out 3 of the 4 units. And so you should be able to find something like that in cash flow. It might not be the first one you find, but as you look for it and you see that it cash flows, you can live in it. And then maybe you live there a couple of years and you move out and you rent the 4th one.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to go back to a story, Nate. Newly married, baby on the way, right? My wife and I are living in this small little apartment complex. It was like $725 of rent. Had a washer, dryer, nice apartment complex. The same apartment rents for $1,800 right now. Okay, crazy, right?
Wow.
This is almost like 12 years ago, right? And so I'm talking about house hacking, right? And I'm in real estate. I'm a commercial broker myself. I'm all excited. So I'm like, we got this place in Granite Bay. And Granite Bay is known as like the really nice area. And she's like, okay, Granite Bay. I'm like, yeah, well, it's like a fourplex, duplex. And we drive down the street, and I hadn't quite. I mean, I'd seen it, but like I was trying to like make it a little better than it was. But we roll up, and she's just like, nope, I'm not living there. I'm not living here. So talk to us about persuading the significant other, right, when starting a family, to try to say, hey, babe, this isn't the dream house, but this is actually going to fulfill our dreams with cash flow.
Yeah. That is a challenge. I talked to so many people and so many couples where one member of the couple is kind of hung up on just seeing the savings account grow. And that's essentially, some people say that's dead money. It's just sitting there. It's making the least amount of return possible, but they feel so secure to see it grow. And then the spouse is like, let's take that and let's put it down on this house and rent it out. Right. So it is difficult. Man, I don't want to get super crazy. I mean, I've read books on like negotiation and everything, try to get in there. One of the things that comes to mind, and it was when you mentioned it, came right to mind before you even asked the question, is you kind of like upsold it, before you got there. Maybe downsell, maybe, hey, listen, this place, but the future, the opportunity is there. And if you sell it that way, I'm not saying you want to talk them out of it, but
Totally. No, you're absolutely right.
At least be straightforward, or, hey, you're at this place, you're going to hate it. Maybe make it like, well, let me see it. No, you're going to hate it. I swear you're going to hate it. but it's all for profit. And then maybe when they get there, they'll be like, it's not as bad, because maybe in their mind they think it's the worst place on earth, and then
I like it.
might not
That's
always
great
work,
insight.
but,
That's great insight. I gotta ask my wife about it. I'm gonna say, hey,
Yeah.
had I done this, what would have happened? Maybe we'll bring her on the show
Yeah.
next time and see what happens on that one.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So consider buying a duplex, triplex, fourplex to get the residential financing, right? Very low. By the way, these are fixed rate terms, right? 30-year fix at some of the lowest possible rates. You live there for a year or two, whatever. You rent it out. Guess what? It's the same loan, right? You're not having to refinance. Whereas traditional commercial loans or investment property loans can be different, especially if it's 5 units and above. Now you're in commercial. Now you're with much higher down payments, sometimes 20, 35%, and higher interest rates. So the government gives better incentives because they sometimes subsidize, especially these USDA loans, right, for home ownership, right? They want to encourage home ownership. So all that being said, consider house hacking, buying a duplex, triplex, fourplex, getting in there, getting the cash flow. Okay, so that's number 2. Anything else that you want to add to the house hack, Nate?
Man, what did we say was the first one?
Well, we
Get
said
into
the
house
first one
hacking.
was-
The second one, yeah.
Delayed gratification, right? And then
Yeah.
consider it a duplex, and then the next one.
Well, I think we kind of touched on it, but the repairs and the maintenance. So if you're getting into investment stuff, you've got to maintain it. Even my house, even my personal house, I've got the painters are here this week, doing the outside of my house. It's only 6 years old, but it was time to paint it. And that's something to keep in mind too, because some people, sometimes even builders, have incentives. I bought in a neighborhood. It was a 1,500 home site community master plan. When I bought in, there were fewer than 100 homes. Now, I don't know what I'm going to get. You don't know what neighbors you're going to get. The neighborhood's not established. You don't get to drive through it. The trees are small, all that stuff. But I knew it was going to be here for a while. And if you do something like that, you can get in. And while I was under contract from the builder, before they even broke ground on my house, they raised their prices. So sometimes they offer incentives even right out of the gate to say, hey, we want to start building, we want to give the appearance that people really want to live in this neighborhood. So then we can build out the rest of it. If you go that, you can go to new construction, but even in a new construction, you have the maintenance side of things, and you've got to be able to create some sort of calculations. All right, I'm buying this house. The roof is 10 years old. What's the average lifespan of the roof? Oh, it's about 20 years. Okay, so as long as it's been maintained and a tree didn't fall through it, I should have about 10 years left. What's the price of a roof? On this size house, potentially $12,000. Okay, and do a little bit of math. Create your accounts. You should have some sort of like operating accounts. The problem with so many people is they have one account, they get paid and they put it in the account and then they spend it. And I see that a lot. I see a lot of people who are qualified for a loan, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. And so then they run into things like closing costs. And we haven't gotten into closing costs yet. That's separate from a down payment. You might have zero down, but even if you use a zero down, you need closing costs. Now, I know we kind of all went all over the place there, but I guess what that sums it to is like you got to have some money in the bank, or you've got to be living fiscally responsible to kind of take this on.
Yeah, budgeting 101. And if you haven't taken Dave Ramsey's course and you're listening to this, consider that, right? We typically have more advanced listeners, but hey, we got Nate on today, and we all can be reminded of the basics, right? And that's for anything. That's for any investment property, right? And that's for, we call it a reserve account for multifamily, and typically it's $250 per unit per year, and that's just stacked in there, and that's built into the expenses, and that's an operating reserve, because you're right, the water heater, right, the AC unit, the roof, the something's gonna happen, and you've got to have those capital improvement reserves ready to go. Excellent, Nate. All that being said, are you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, sure.
All right, knowing what you know now, if you go back to your 25-year-old self, although I don't know, you might already be too. How old are you, Nate?
34.
Okay, good. 25-year-old self. What's the one golden nugget you would make sure to tell yourself to do?
Oh, don't buy that Dodge Charger RT.
Right? Don't take that bonus money for re-upping in the Navy to buy that Dodge Charger RT.
Yeah. Don't consumer debt. Don't let your consumer debt get away from you at all.
Yep. Good. Well said. Second question. What's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Okay, so man, I did read Green Lights, and maybe it's kind of cliche, but it's a very good book. I also read a book called "It Doesn't Have to Be Crazy at Work" early on in this year, and that was kind of a book on slowing down. Now, the way I approach books is they're kind of like tools, and I put tools in my toolbox, but I don't use necessarily all the tools for the same jobs. So keep that in mind. So if you go to It Doesn't Have to Be Crazy at Work, very good book. As far as, I mean, exactly what it says. I would recommend it. Even if it's both for good for entrepreneurs, but also just for employees to approach
Cool.
their day-to-day work.
Love it. Great question. Great answer. Next question. Favorite leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Okay. So I like this quote. Every day we make it, we'll make it the best we can. And I've had people kind of question me on this. That's actually a Jack Daniels quote. I've got a glass, and it's engraved on the Jack Daniels glass. I think it's on their website and stuff. And so I just think it's when you're going out the front door every day, I'm going to make it the best I can. And to me, it says, regardless of what I'm handed, regardless of what tools, what supplies I have, they may not be the best, but I'll make the best product with them.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's taking personal responsibility and counting your blessing, being grateful for what you have, and making the best of it. Excellent. Leads into the next question. What's the number one leadership lesson you learned in your 10 years of service with the Navy?
So part of that, I guess, is behind closed doors. There's things that you sometimes don't see. A lot of times I would wonder why a certain leader was doing the things he was doing. And then it only came to, I only understood it later on why he was doing things he was doing. And so now I try to take that into account to any leaders I have or the people below me. You don't always have to let everybody under you in on everything. You kind of want to lead them away, but sometimes people want to be led and they don't need all the information. They just need to do their job or get their work done. And the same thing, I look at the lens through that of my leaders currently, where there may be things I don't know. So before I get mad at their decision, let's let it settle a day or two, and then we'll go from there.
Love it. That's a great leadership lesson. Second to last question. What are you most curious about right now?
Outer space. I love outer space. No. Curious, my brother were very entrepreneur minded. I reference him in almost everything I do. I'm curious if I'm glitching on your side of the screen as well as mine, but
kind of, yeah. But for people who are listening, you're probably not catching it. It's only
yeah,
on.
that's fine. So we're always kind of looking at the next thing. Like, okay, we're calling how much money you got on bank. Well, we got this. Well, we got a buddy who he maybe wants to start a gym or so. Okay, well, let's figure out the numbers. Should you go in as a group? Should you go split it with somebody, partners? What new business can we start? What is our passions? What do we have skills for? And so I guess I'm just always curious about, the future. Maybe space is kind of symbolic of that. Just like, in the bigger picture, just what can I do today that 65-year-old me is going to be like, thank God you did that.
I love that. That's a great answer. Nate Riggs. Your wisdom surpasses your 34-year-old age. I'm only 30. I'm not that much older, but I appreciate all that. Last question. After all your success, Nate, serving our great country here, and thank you for your service, by the way.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And being in real estate and helping people buy and sell real estate in the Jacksonville, Florida area. How do you stay focused in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward and reach new goals?
Staying focused in my values. Man, I guess it's almost like muscle memory. It's like going to the gym. If you have a belief system, if you have certain values, you need to surround yourself with the people that got the same values, people who have the same belief system. Surround yourself with the people you want to be, and I think it'll be a part of you if you do that. And that's what I try to do. I look at people that are, I've had people who I really looked up to, and some of the greatest moments of my life was when they took a step in life that was a big challenge for them. And they told me that, I helped motivate them to do that. And I'm like, what, man, this is a person I looked up to. So just looking for those moments, that's really it for me.
Beautiful, Nate. Hey, Nate Riggs, I want to thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing a part of your story. And I want to encourage you to keep changing the energy in the room like you changed the energy on our podcast today for our listeners and for myself. By the way, it's called Riggins Riggs, okay? Riggins Riggs is on Friday Night Lights. It's
Riggins Riggs,
brother.
okay.
Okay, and you should watch this. You should watch. I don't know how. Is your brother older or younger than you? I'm gonna guess he's older.
Younger. He's 26.
He's 26. Okay, so you're the older one. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
just cool. But there's an older, younger brother in this thing. I want you guys to try to watch this thing together and think about Riggins Riggs and remember me. Okay, it's a cool brother relationship. But for those who want to get in touch with you, Nate Riggs, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, so the best place probably on I'm on the social media, usually Facebook and Instagram, but you just go to @NateRiggsOfficial on Instagram. I'll respond there. I've got a website, nateriggs.kw.com. Of course, it's set up for home search. You can type in a search, and if you just scroll down, I mean, you just give the mouse a little flick, you'll see a little contact page. You can contact me there. Either of those work best, but definitely the Instagram @NateRiggsOfficial. And, I'll respond there for sure.
Awesome, Nate. Thanks for being on the show. And I want to thank our listeners for listening to the episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, also streaming on expertcresecrets.com. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options, not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using the Deferred Sales Trust to sell your highly appreciated cryptocurrency, primary home, luxury real estate. Save a failed 1031 exchange is the best way for you to defer tax and grow your wealth. You go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. You can also go to expertcresecrets.com as well to learn more about all things real estate. Thanks so much for listening. And
you have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.